Excuse me. I couldn't help noticing that strange and interesting plant. What is it?
It's an orchard, too.
Hello, welcome back to YCFT. This week, it's arguable whether this is a horror movie or not.
Yeah.
It's got it in the name. We are talking about 1986's Little Shop of Horrors.
Welcome to our florist.
This is a musical number.
Yeah.
I'm going to say mainly the actual... If you look at the plot, it is the plot of a horror movie and a creature feature.
On a creature feature. Yeah.
But it is a musical.
It is a musical. With the occasional murder taking place as well.
Directed by Frank Oz. I'd say most famously known as he is the puppeteer and the voice of Yoda in Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I think he did a fantastic job with this one. Like, this was my first time watching this one. Do you want to tell us how this film came about?
I will.
Including, do you have anything on the original?
In 1960, a bloke that we've talked about before on the channel called Roger Corman, who is now, all-round renowned cult filmmaker, producer, director, responsible for producing a lot of very low-budget, kind of schlocky horrors throughout the 50s, 60s, 70s. Also responsible for giving opportunities to now a lot of renowned filmmakers. In 1960, he made his movie, The Little Shop of Horrors, in 2 days, I believe. 2 days. Was it a Bess or something like that?
Yeah.
If people said, it's impossible, you can't make a movie in 2 days, and he said, watch me. And he did. The film became something of a hit with teenagers kind of throughout the years. I think it was played at drive-ins.
He never intended to be a good film.
No, he didn't. He just wanted to make a film. He wanted to prove the point that he could do it. I also think he just had the itch to make something. Over time, the film became something of a hit with a lot of younger audiences. And then in 1980, it became a Broadway musical, which was very, very popular. And David Geffen, who was the producer of the off-Broadway musical, he thought, well, why don't we turn this into a movie? Why don't we make the musical into a movie? And that's kind of how it basically came to be. David Geffen was producer of the film. He was very heavily involved in it. Frank Oz came on to direct. And music producer Bob Gaudio, he adapted and produced a lot of the songs that we hear in the film.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
Well, it even stars one of the stars of the play.
It does indeed. Ellen Green. So she's Audrey 1. And yeah, she was always Audrey in the off-Broadway run. And I think she was over the moon when she got told that she was offered the part, because it's quite unusual, I think, that anyone not in the film business gets cast in the original role from Broadway. So that was really cool. And Rick Moranis, the brilliant Rick Moranis.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Ghostbusters.
Yeah, all-round 80s icon, basically.
He's fantastic.
He's cast in the role of Seymour. And the film takes place around this little florist shop in downtown New York. It's set in the 1950s, I think, maybe like early 60s or thereabouts. This really kind of rundown area of New York.
Except from a production standpoint, he does a really good job of like making the place look run down, like homeless everywhere.
Totally.
There's a great attention to detail.
We can talk forever about the production design. Like, there's a beautiful kind of like artifice to it. I think it looks like a theatrical backdrop, basically, like matte paintings in the background and stuff. But yeah, Seymour, he's an orphan. He works in this florist shop, which isn't doing very well. Like, business is down. Doesn't really have a lot of friends. He doesn't have any luck with the ladies, feeling kind of sorry for himself. But the one thing that he does have is this little mysterious plant that he has named Audrey 2, which is kind of like a crossover between a fly trap and, I don't know, there's another plant, isn't there, that he name checks. And it draws in the crowd. They put it in the shop window. This unusual plant, whatever is it? And it starts bringing in people in, and business is suddenly booming.
Becomes a bit of a celebrity.
He does become a bit of a local celebrity.
The plant is unwell.
The plant isn't very well. The plant starts to fade and die, and Seymour is he's devastated by this. He doesn't understand what more he can do. And he realises that Audrey 2 needs blood.
Yes.
Needs the blood in order to sustain itself.
And if we see him a little bit later with fingers covered in plasters.
Whilst the plant is still like yay big. By the way, we tried to get an Audrey 2 for this. We really did try.
Yeah.
We were not successful. But when the plant is still quite small, droplets of blood will suffice. But when Audrey 2 starts growing, that's when Seymour has to start worrying.
And speaking. Who voices Audrey 2?
Levi or Levi Stubbs from the famous Four Tops. Big kind of blues band, R&B band back in the day. He absolutely fantastic as the voice of Audrey 2. There is so much sass and attitude to this fucking plant. It's brilliant.
Well, the first kill is Audrey's abusive boyfriend, played by
Steve Martin.
He plays he's a dentist who loves to inflict pain.
He's a sadist. He's a total sadist. He's very abusive to Audrey as well.
He hams this up so much, and he is the most musical. Like when you feel like you're watching just a musical on stage when he's on screen. Like it's cheesy, but he's just going for it, and he's just really fun to watch. And but he is evil.
Like a scene of him on his motorbike, clearly, like with a fake background as well. Yeah. Just like loving life, always looking like kind of Daddy Zuko from Grease. Yeah.
He lives in a really weird scene with a cameo from Bill Murray.
Bill Murray, oh my god,
who is someone who loves pain.
Bill Murray is a masochist and has heard about the reputation of Steve Martin's dentistry. So sadist meet masochist.
Yeah.
And it's such a bizarre little scene where Steve Martin, obviously he doesn't give any Novocaine, and Bill Murray's begging him to give him a root canal treatment. So the drill goes in and the injections go in and the pliers go in, and Bill Murray is just always having like this orgasmic experience.
Yeah, so weird.
And Steve Martin gets angry because he's not experiencing the pain like he wants him to. It's so brilliant. It's such like a very bizarre moment.
But he is the first victim.
So Steve Martin is the first victim. Did say at the beginning murders happen. Steve Martin is not murdered.
No, he knocks himself out with his own gas.
With his own laughing gas. Seymour did go to the dentist, the dentist, with the intention of killing Steve Martin. Didn't have to. He was spared from that, ultimately. Steve Martin just dies.
But he did still chop his body up with an axe.
But he still chops
Does this sound like a horror movie yet? And feeding these body parts to this plant that is now massive.
Yes. That is now growing at this ridiculously expeditious rate.
The owner of the shop sees him chopping up the bodies.
Mr. Munchkin.
Blackmails Seymour, and surprise, surprise, the plant eats him as well.
Yeah.
It's the plant himself as well. He is great. He's got so much attitude and.
What the hell is sir? Wait.
I think I remember reading there's only 2 blue screen shots in the whole film. And one of those shots is in the director's cut, which we're going to talk into a little bit, because I mainly want to compare the theatrical cut with the director's cut, because they are basically 2 completely different movies.
Yeah.
Tough titty.
Watch your language.
Oh, cut the crap. Bring on the meat.
So it was all puppetry.
It was. Animatronics
puppetry. And it's mainly been done through filming. They tried loads of ways of trying to get this plant to work properly and look good. So they filmed them filmed them at like half speed.
Yeah.
And then sped it up. And that made the movements look much more fluid. So that means in a lot of scenes where Rick Moranis is talking to the plant, he is acting in slow motion.
Yeah.
So that when they speed him up, his motions look much more fluid.
How insane.
I think it makes a lot of his movements look much more dramatic.
Yeah. It's so it blew my mind when
it's kind of genius in a way. When you look at behind the scenes of them operating it with levers and stuff like that. Obviously the set is raised, so you've got so many puppeteers underneath it. The amount of work that must have taken.
Oh god, yeah. You behind the scenes, you've got all of them operate 50 people just do it, pulling a different leaf or something.
Things like the plant is of various different sizes as well, so they must have so many different
it's cool
models.
We heard it when we were watching behind the scenes of what the song, the plant, the numbers that the plant sings in its normal speed, and it was actually done at a much slower level, and you can really tell when you watch the film just how much it's been
sped up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's genius, absolutely genius.
And just
So yeah, kudos to Rick Moranis because he's the one that has the most interaction with.
Yeah, it makes the
with Audrey
film.
too.
It's aged very well. Like the effects of Planet, because it's all in camera. I love me some VFX. Anyone who watches this know I always compliment good VFX. But I've also got to compliment really good special effects because it tends to age a lot better.
Yeah.
And that's just simple. It's just simple. Filming it in a certain way has done that.
Yeah, and it looks phenomenal. It's just the whole film. I think looks so unique. We're kind of contained in this very little world. We don't really kind of go beyond the realms of downtown. So we're for most of the movie we're focused on this like little street where there's loads of hobos lying around, and we have these 3 chorus girls that kind of also act as narrators almost throughout the film. So they sing, they open the film for us. They like kind of set the scene with downtown. But then they also kind of appear as actual characters within the movie, like 3 girls just sort of, interacting with Audrey, telling her to leave her abusive boyfriend, and kind of like the all-seeing, watchful eyes of the film, which I just thought was like, again, a very overtly sort of theatrical thing to do.
There's a lovely cameo by John Candy as well.
Oh, there is.
He's a radio DJ.
He
radio
is.
host.
Yeah, so this is when Audrey 2 starts getting a lot of publicity. Seymour's invited to go to a radio to try and promote it. And Candy, he was initially offered a bigger role. I think he was offered the role of the owner of the shop. But he didn't want to commit to too much time on the film. So he said, if there's a smaller part, I'll happily do it. So they offered him the DJ. There's so many fantastic performances.
It's that scene where the plant tries to like bite the woman's arse in front of him.
Oh yeah, Seymour just has to clamp it down.
That's when you see his fingers covered in bandages and plasters.
And
he's like, I've tried. I could. What do you want to do? Open up a vein?
Yeah. And throughout the film, we also get this, budding romance between Audrey 1 and Seymour.
Yeah.
She's with the dentist because she wants a man. Like she's desperate for this. This very suburban.
She feels like she doesn't deserve a good man.
No, she's had to do some things in her past, and she feels like Seymour, someone like him, is going to judge her for it. But she has this lovely little sequence where she fantasizes about owning a little house and having children with Seymour, and baking him pies, and just like that lovely little idyllic life that she wants for herself. That's all she wants.
Yeah. When they do finally express their feelings to each other, she suddenly bursts out and these pipes. Where they come from? Where they come? That's where you can see. That's why they brought her from the musical to the film.
Exactly. I can't do the voice, but I'm gonna try. Ellen Green's Audrey, she has this very soft spoken little mousy voice, and then suddenly when she sings Suddenly Seymour, which is her kind of big number, it's a duet with Rick Moranis where they kind of declare their love for each other. She just the Jesus Christ, the voice that she has was incredible. Imagine hearing that on the stage.
Going through the film very quickly here. It's 100% just worth a watch in it, in and of itself. It's their happiness and then want to just go and have a normal life that does kind of lead to the downfall of
everything. Because
absolutely everything.
Because Seymour adores Audrey. He's doing all of this for Audrey. Whether unbeknownst to her. He doesn't want the fame. He doesn't want the notoriety.
He did this mainly just to keep the shop afloat.
And then now that he's getting the publicity and he's getting a bit more money, he
doesn't want it.
He doesn't want it. But he also thinks, I can give her the life that she wants now. If she'll have me, I can give her what she wants.
It's also dawning on him that he's people have to die for me to have this lifestyle.
He's in way over his head.
The plant is getting bigger, wants more food, it needs more.
And
feed me. Feed me, Seymour.
Competitors, competitor florists, or they also want in on the plant.
Yeah.
They want little Audreys that they can
get to
market.
that in just a moment, because when Audrey 2, the giant plant, finds out what he's doing, he calls... The plant uses the phone.
He does.
How he knows them. Calls Audrey 1 over and tries to eat her.
Yes.
This is where the 2 cuts of the film are drastically different.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm going to spoil both of them here, because I think the original ending was 23 minutes long.
Yeah.
and they had to cut it.
Yeah.
And I think we got the director's cut. And I didn't realize that's what the one we were watching because you were watching I don't remember this ending.
I do not remember that ending at all.
I'll go for the original ending first.
Yeah.
So he saves it. He kind of reveals what's been going on to her, and she's like, "Well, you didn't need to do all this." Yada yada yada. A salesman comes up and they say, "Oh, we took, we want some trimmings, and we wanted to sell Audrey 2s everywhere, every house in America." And that's when Seymour kind of realizes because the plan's been pushing him to do a lot of the fame and bring people in. He realizes the plan
has its own agenda.
It has its own agenda, and that's to basically conquer the world.
Yes.
And it was because I think it was nominated for an Oscar, the Plant's song, wasn't it? It was the first bad guy.
Mean Green Mother from Outer Space.
Yeah. Well, it's the reveal that yes, it's an alien.
Yeah.
Which is kind of obvious. But not to Seymour.
No.
But yeah, it was nominated. I can't remember if it won, but it was nominated it was the first song sung by a villain to be nominated for an Oscar.
It was the first Oscar-nominated song to contain profanity. Again, I don't know if it won, but I do know that Levi Stubbs, when he did perform it at the Oscars that year, and he had to cut out any swear words to appease the Academy.
Yeah. Seymour takes a bit of a beating.
He does.
Literally there's a bit that's almost like Evil Dead-esque, I think, when his vines are holding him down, and anyone knows the original Evil Dead, there's a bit like a tree branch going up a woman's
penetration happening.
Well, he gets hit in the nuts with it.
He does.
It's a watered down version, but it kind of just reminded me of that scene from the Evil Dead, the original film. And Seymour does fight back using it's like an electrical cable, manages to blow the plant up.
Yes.
Blows the whole building up with him, but he's successful. He's the hero.
Yeah.
Perfectly fine ending. It's the ending you expect.
And he gets the girl.
And he gets the girl. And
he and Audrey run off.
They go off to their
little idyllic house from her fantasy, her dream.
You see a little Audrey too in the...
And we do. So,
that whole ending was reshoots. From when Audrey comes to the shop, it's completely different.
Yes. So, after the phone call from Audrey 2 to Audrey 1 to entice her over, that's where...
Yeah, I know. The plan, he actually has her in his mouth when Seymour gets in, and it's after he gets her out of the building, that's when it cuts, because in the original bit, again, major spoilers for the director's cut here.
Major spoilers.
And because I know the original producer, because they brought out this is one of the first times that a media release got recalled because of content. They brought out a version of the film with the original ending, but it was in black and white.
Yeah.
Some of the effects weren't finished, and some of the music wasn't there. And being the rights holder, was like, no, I have the original. There was a fire, basically, that the studio didn't realise that a full quality version still existed. So it got completely recalled, and they ended up bringing out this. I think this actually won an award for Blu-ray releases.
Something like that. Yeah. I never even knew that there were.
So they finished the ending, put it out there, because he initially wanted to re-release the film with the original ending.
Yeah.
So the original ending is bleak.
Well, first of all, Audrey dies.
Yeah.
She succumbs to her wounds from being half eaten alive by a plant.
And dies.
And she dies.
And it's actually it's sad, but it's also really sweet.
Her dying wish is for Seymour to feed her corpse to Audrey too.
Because you deserve this. You deserve this life. You deserve the fame, the money, the notoriety. So he does it. He feeds her body to the plant.
Weirdly beautiful moment.
Yeah.
Where the plant's mouth just kind of slowly closes, and she's just,
it's almost
lying...
like closing of a coffin.
Yeah.
But Seymour and the plant have a bit of a falling out.
They have a bit of a falling out after that.
He just goes to... Seymour goes to commit suicide.
He goes to the top of the roof, one of the buildings in downtown.
It's across from the street, and he just wants to...
prepare to jump.
He is met on the roof by the same salesman from the previous cut. But he has already made an Audrey 2. He's already taken it cutting. So there's this little Audrey 2 there. It's every shop is we can do this with or without you.
Yeah. But
we want you involved. And that's when it realises what the plan is. So he goes to confront the plan. Very similar fight. I think they use a lot of the same takes in the theatrical ending.
Yeah.
But Seymour is also eaten.
Seymour is defeated by Audrey 2.
Yeah.
Mean Green Mother.
Yes. And so now both our main characters are dead.
They're dead. Guys, they're dead.
It doesn't end there. But I think that is the main part that made test audiences... I think the test audience in the 80s weren't ready for that type of grim of an ending.
They weren't...
Because they were so invested in these two characters and their love story.
Yeah.
They didn't want to see them both die.
No.
So I think because we're a much more cynical generation, I think we are very much prepared for this type of ending.
Yeah, I mean,
And-
I will admit it was a bit kind of jarring to see it. You know, after this, it's not necessarily a happy musical, but it is a comedy. It's a black comedy, Little Shop of Horrors. So then to see both of them die in ultimately really kind of tragic ways, it is a bit like, oh shit.
Yeah, it becomes a horror movie.
It really does become a horror movie.
Yeah, but the film doesn't end there.
No.
And again, when you see just how much was probably spent
Yeah.
and cut from this film, we see all the Audrey 2s in the shops, but
marketed.
like mass marketing. You see people going crazy. The scenes where there's a new thing sourced that going.
Yeah, like Turbo Man.
Turbo Man. The plans take over the world.
Yeah.
Next, there's so many great scenes of like
Oh my god.
giant plants, walking through the streets, breaking through buildings. There's one of your favorite scenes where it's like there's a subway that just goes straight into its mouth.
Like the jaw is agape and the train just goes straight in. It looks fantastic. I love the one of the Audreys is on Brooklyn Bridge, and
the bridge is like swinging.
and there's all of the plants. Like you can just hear their laughter.
Yeah,
like bellowing throughout New York and the world. Like,
this goes
just
on for so long.
embracing the anarchy and the destruction that they're causing.
See the army's
and,
the army's shooting towards trying to take them down. We see TVs, it's almost like black and white, like a proper monster movie showing the plants attacking other parts of the world. We see them on the Statue of Liberty.
Oh, and the vines
revel.
crawling out of the Statue of Liberty's crown. Yeah.
They revel in the destruction. There's so much carnage. This is when it becomes a proper creature feature.
Yeah.
It's so completely different to the original. It's 23-minute long video ending.
At one point,
was scrapped.
I think you turned to me at one point and you were like, this is going on like a fair bit. It's like it lingers on it a lot.
Absolutely incredible. The work, I remember when we watched the making of, the producer was so devastated that they had to go to the special effects team and say, we can't use any of this.
Frank Oz had to make the personal phone call to say, like, mate, they don't want to use it. And that guy was like...
I think he made the call as well. It's like, we can't, he wanted to, but he knew from the test audience, we have to make a new ending.
Yeah.
So I think he ultimately took responsibility and was like, we have to just... And I think he's never fully happy with the ending. He's like,
no.
It was serviceable. It's what people wanted.
Yeah.
But I think Frank Oz and the producer was so happy that people actually are able to see the original ending.
I think so too, yeah.
I think they should have, I don't know if they ever did, but if they ever re-released that in cinemas with the director's cut, I'd go see it because it's, from a production standpoint, it's incredible. And there's so much carnage and destruction.
It's so much carnage. I mean, it was really strange for me because I've seen this film many, many times. This was like a childhood favourite movie of mine, and I'd only ever seen the theatrical ending of when Audrey and Seymour ended up together.
I've seen it on stage, so I know that I kind of know how it was supposed to end. So even I was like,
okay. So in the stage production, on the stage,
the version I say it was more like
they do take over.
It was a low production version of it, but it's a happy ending on stage.
Oh, so there's no destruction, they do just...
No.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. So the original... Because I can't remember how the 1960 film ends.
And obviously we've not seen the off-Broadway one. So all I knew going into it was that the plan was defeated, but apparently that's not how they
That's all I knew.
It.
So then, we're watching the film and then there comes a point where Audrey actually dies and I was like, this is news to me. It was so bizarre, but it really would have changed the film. It does change the film.
Mm-mm. The film becomes much darker.
Incredibly darker and very bleak.
You realise at that point that Seymour's not... the ending they went with made Seymour the hero. And in the original cut of the film, he's not the hero. He's not. He brings about the end of the human race, basically.
Yeah, basically.
I love that.
After you see it unassuming guy.
After you see it at the Statue of Liberty and you see the end, it's like... exclamation mark, question mark, exclamation mark, and then a plan tears through the screen as well. It's
that, just laughing.
Such amazing work.
Yeah, truly.
But the thing is, I will watch this again.
Oh, I love this.
I feel like I only want to watch the director's cut though.
Really?
Because I do think it's better. The ending of the theatrical is fine.
Yeah.
It's serviceable. It's what you it's what you expect. But the destruction and the carnage of the director's cut, it makes it a proper monster movie.
It has, in a way, it sort of changed my perception of the film or my feelings towards the film, because seeing Frank Oz being interviewed, And I feel terrible because I don't have his name, but seeing the special effects guy being interviewed and like the devastation that they felt, I do feel really bad for them because the ending that I've grown up with is not the ending that was ever envisioned nor wanted. It was a last ditch attempt to appease
the audiences
at the time. So I'm really happy that I've seen what was intended. But I think just because of nostalgia, I kind of... if I'm going to rewatch this, and I will, I'll probably rewatch the
theatrical cut.
The theatrical
I said
one,
because I watched it for the first time.
That's what you saw for the first... Yeah. Your sister was in the production of it, in
a production of it. And that's what I know the ending from.
Yeah. I love this movie so much. It's such like... I am a big fan of musicals. I love them. But I always prefer the sort of like the darker ones with,
well, I guess Sweeney Todd.
Like Sweeney Todd, yeah, exactly. And I know a lot of people might be thinking this isn't horror, but we wanted to do like for Valentine's month for February, we wanted to touch on stories that delved into romance and darker subplots as well.
It's very horror adjacent, and
very much.
I'd say the director's got a special. I say you can class it as a horror film because it's a creature feature now.
Yeah, but when
the ending especially makes it a monster movie.
When you think about it as well, like the themes that this deals with, an abusive domestic relationship, a man eating plants, the destruction of the universe,
an alien man eating plant, being feeding bodies to this plant.
Exactly. It's like, sure, this has a lot of fun song and dance sequences in it, but if you kind of strip it bare, it's pretty.
When you think about it,
disturbing.
it's actually a very similar plot to Sweeney Todd.
Kind of sort of similar,
because that is also about killing people to feed.
To feed.
It's a bit brighter and it's nicely nicely sung.
Yeah, some of the songs are brilliant.
It is. Look, it's got horror in the title, all right.
It's got horror in the title.
Yeah. So, do you have any more notes?
I don't think so. I'm so happy that you saw it. That you really enjoyed it as well, because it's one of those special films for me.
Great quality Blu-ray as well.
Definitely. This was really cheap actually as well.
Yeah, it was really cheap. It was only like $5, and looks really good and it sounds really good. I'm knowing that they've put the ending back together properly and probably done some really good effect. I think there's some Bondi effects going on to finish it off.
Yeah.
But it looks and sounds great, and that's what you want from a Blu-ray release.
There is
great special features as well.
At the time of recording this as well, there is another remake in the works, which I'm not 100% sure if it's going to be a film or if it's going to be a TV series, but there is something brewing. Yeah, we're going to see a new Little Shop of Horrors.
It's been a long time since we've had an adaptation.
It has been, but I think this
film's nearly 40 years old.
It didn't do very well when it was released.
No, but on the home video, it blew up.
Yeah.
I think the 80s, they didn't quite know what to expect from the home video market. It did so well.
No. It's it's a very special little film. The love story is, Seymour and Audrey all the way.
Perfectly cast.
Yeah. Just wonderful.
Yeah. Thanks for stopping by, guys.
Hope you had a nice Valentine's.
Hopefully you have a nice Valentine's week, and hopefully this makes you look at this film slightly differently. And if you can track down the director's cut, I'd highly recommend giving it a watch. Both endings are the original end. I do enjoy the original ending. It's fine. It's fine,
but it's what I grew up with. So that's what those are my memories of watching the film. Audrey and Seymour end up together.
The ending alone just completely changes how you look at the rest of the film.
It does. It really, really does. And plants, man.
Yeah. Well, the 23 minutes cut, it's basically another act.
Yeah.
It's insane. But yeah, like I said, thanks for stopping by, guys, and we'll see you next week.